Think with me about the marvelous universe or universes in which we live. There's a miraculous dance that takes place on a daily basis. Our planet spins around its axis at a speed of 1,000 miles per hour. You know that? And while our planet does a 360 every 24 hours, it's also hurtling through space at 67,000 miles per hour. You may not have any big plans for today, but you will travel 1.6 million miles in your annual lap around the sun. And that really is quite fascinating. Quite an accomplishment. And to top it off, the Milky Way galaxy is spinning at approximately 490,000 miles per hour. And it takes the Milky Way 200 million years to make one full revolution. It makes me dizzy just thinking about it. Thomas Carlyle, the Scottish essayist from the 19th century, said, "Worship is transcendent wonder, wonder for which there is no limit or measure." That's worship. Awed silence in the presence of our marvelous Creator, standing in awe of the Creator and the creation. So my question is, when was the last time you cried or you clapped for the Creator? When was the last time you gave God a standing ovation for something which you saw in front of you? When was the last time you thanked God for a baby's smile or a child's laugh or a spouse's touch? When was the last time you were so awed by the night sky or the summer's flowers or the ocean waves or the snow-capped mountains that you worshiped the Creator in the wild-eyed wonder of a little child? I thank God for those moments in my life when my spiritual eyes have been opened to behold the beauty of God behind what I see. Most of us take our eyesight for granted. But even the simplest of processes, we think about all the celestial, marvelous things, all the things in creation. You get down to the physiology of the human body that several of you mentioned. The retina of the eye, for example, conducts close to 10 billion, with a B, calculations every second. And this is even before an image travels along the optic nerve to the visual cortex. 10 billion calculations a second in order for us to see what we see. Each of our senses is nothing short of miraculous. Awed silence, opened eyes to see God at work all around us. But some of us are walking through this life as sleepwalkers. Maybe as I introduce things, you found yourself at that end of the spectrum. I used to be a sleepwalker when I was a child and a youth. I grew out of it, as most children do. This is something that tends to... Scientists don't understand sleepwalking, but they know it's largely focused on children. Children do tend to grow out of it. Some adults later on in life also sleepwalk. They probably also were sleepwalkers when they were children. It tends to be true of families, that if you have one sleepwalker, you probably have several. and maybe you had kids, maybe you were a sleepwalker when you were a child. I did some wild and wacky stuff sleepwalking when I was a kid. One incident included getting up out of bed, walking out of the room, slightly down the hallway, down the stairs, and there was a stand at the end of the stairs that had a drawer. I'm not going to go into a great bunch of detail, but I can tell you that my parents found me just in time trying to flush the drawer. It's a curious phenomenon to understand, and I wonder how many of us suffer from spiritual sleepwalking, where we're awake, supposedly. You look like you're awake, you're doing stuff that your body would do when it's awake, but you have kind of a glassy-eyed stare. If you're woken up in the process, you don't recall what it is you were doing. And some of us go through life like that. Our eyes are open, but vacant, glassy-eyed stares reveal an empty soul. At best, we're half awake as we go throughout life. We're unaware of the miracles happening around us all the time. We're unaware that the Spirit of God is at work in and around us all the time. Loving God with our soul means being more and more aware of God's presence day in and day out. It's building a sense of God consciousness, and that's the goal of spiritual maturity. We see with our souls, we love with our wonder. That's in creation. Let's look at things in Scripture as well. The Bible was written over 1,500 years by more than 40 writers. Most of you know all this stuff anyway. God inspired kings and poets and shepherds to write that are part of this book. Some wrote in the plush settings of a palace, while others etched their words in an island exile. Some wrote out of the agony of personal tragedy, and others wrote in the ecstasy of visions. Written in 3 different languages on 3 different continents. There's no other book like the Bible. When we open the Scriptures, it's like descending a flight of stairs that Mark Batterson talks about when he visited the Church of San Clemente in Rome. For the Bible is the place where God bears God's soul. That's where we find out the most about God. And the Bible is no Sunday school flannelgraph. Those of you that read it regularly realize that it will make you wince and cringe and blush, but it will also make you marvel. Nothing speaks to our soul like Scripture. It's the one way God reveals wonders in written form. And like the wonders of creation waiting to be discovered, the Bible beckons us to explore who God is. The quest for the lost soul of Christianity always brings us back to the Bible.